In the world of academia, you've probably heard the phrase publish or perish. It's this constant pressure that hangs over researchers. But what happens when that pressure just gets to be too much? Well, let's dive into the ugly truth of what happens when the system pushes people right to the edge. And this quote, wow, it really just cuts right to the heart of the problem, doesn't it? The whole goal starts to shift. Suddenly, it's not really about the big, noble ideas of pushing science forward. It becomes all about survival, about climbing the ladder and getting that next promotion. The personal win starts to matter more than actual progress.
All right, so let's break that down. What exactly is this publish or perish trap, and how does it create the kind of environment we're talking about?
At its core, it's a pretty simple but, well, brutal equation. Your value, your job security, your entire career path. It's all tied to how many papers you can get published in academic journals. If you've got no publications, you risk becoming totally irrelevant, or even worse, losing your job. It creates this constant, high-stakes pressure cooker.
And you can see where this is going, right? This is where the whole system starts to crack. When the need for publications becomes desperate, a market just kind of emerges to meet that demand. People start looking for shortcuts, and, there are always others who are more than willing to sell them. This is where things take a really dark turn into an academic black market.
So, how exactly are people gaming the system? You might be shocked at how organized this whole thing is. The source material basically lays out a whole menu of options for anyone willing to cheat their way into getting a publication. And the system for cheating is just stunningly organized. For starters, you can just straight up buy a completed article. Or maybe you purchase a co-author credit on a paper you had absolutely nothing to do with. But it goes so much deeper. To guarantee your paper gets accepted, you can pay off the peer reviewers, or even bribe editors through these shady organizations called paper mills. And maybe the most cynical trick of all is paying what's known as a predatory journal to publish your work with a fake, backdated publication date, completely making up your research history. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This just sounds like a few bad apples, right? Well, the data tells a very different story. This isn't just anecdotal. It's a measurable crisis of integrity. It's the natural question to ask, isn't it? Is this really just a few isolated incidents, or are we looking at a sign of a much deeper rot in the system? The data gives us a pretty clear clue. Take a look at this chart. It uses data from a site called Retraction Watch, which, by the way, is a database that literally tracks every time a scientific paper gets pulled back because of errors or fraud. This shows the number of retracted articles from universities in Pakistan. And what you'll notice is that these aren't small, obscure schools. We're seeing names like Bahauddin Zakaria University and Quaid-i-Azam University, some of the top-ranked schools in the country, right at the top of this list. And the pattern just keeps going here. This table shows research integrity risk scores, where a higher score means a greater potential for academic misconduct. And look at the names here. The University of Lahore, Islamia University, ComStats. You see a lot of the same universities with high retraction counts also showing up with major red flags on integrity. The data is definitely pointing to a pattern. But here's the thing. This isn't just about a few bad papers or a university's reputation taking a hit. The real danger here lies in the ripple effect, how this corruption spreads and basically poisons the very heart of education and science. I mean, think about it. When senior academics, the bosses, start doing this, they're not just cheating the system themselves, they are teaching it. This kind of behavior normalizes fraud. It creates a culture where the next generation of researchers learns that cutting corners isn't just an option, it's actually the way you get ahead. This quote, taken right from the source, is just chilling. It's so casual. This is something a student might actually hear from their advisor. The promise isn't about helping with the research or the writing, it's about gaming the system. This is where the real decay begins, in the classroom, corrupting the very minds that are supposed to be our future. Okay, so that was a lot of doom and gloom. The system clearly has some deep, deep problems. But our source doesn't just diagnose the illness, it also offers a cure. It lays out a pretty detailed blueprint for reform, aimed at fixing this broken system from the inside out. So the blueprint for reform starts with the people. First, it calls for cleaning up hiring to fight nepotism. And this is crucial. When it comes to promotions, we have to stop focusing on just the number of publications and start looking at the quality and the real impact of the work. The source also says we should penalize faculty who are constantly publishing way outside their actual expertise because that can be a huge red flag. And here's a really interesting idea. Allow experienced professionals from outside academia, even without PhDs, to become professors. That could bring in real-world knowledge and ease some of this insane pressure on everyone. Okay, next up, the reform targets the culture itself. And this is the big one. The source says just scrap, publish, or perish as a performance metric, period. And to give that some real teeth, universities need to have strict, clear penalties when a paper is retracted for fraud. There's also a huge need to actually teach research ethics, not just assume everyone gets it. And on a bigger scale, universities have to stop this obsessive chase for rankings. Instead of jumping on the best in the country bandwagon, they need to take an honest look at themselves and focus on what they're truly good at. And all of this really boils down to one final, really provocative question our source leaves us with. In this race to publish and climb the rankings, have we maybe forgotten that higher education can have lots of different missions? Maybe the solution isn't just about tweaking the rules of research, but about fundamentally rethinking what we expect from our universities in the first place.